Hi viewers, welcome to White Angel Schools. My name is Teacher Eric Chico, and I'm going to be taking you through a social studies lesson. And in today's lesson, we shall be looking at the Stone Age period in Uganda. So I would like you to follow me to class, and then you see what I have for you today. Hi viewers, welcome to our primary 5 class, where we're going to be learning about the Stone Age period. Our topic for the day, our lesson for the day, is going to be about the Stone Age period in Uganda. That is where we're going to base. Before we start talking about the Stone Age period, we need to know that Stone Age and all about it falls under the source of history, which we call archaeology. So right now we are all going to become archaeologists. We are going to be archaeologists talking about everything about the Stone Age period and the early man. We shall start by knowing what the word Stone Age means. Stone Age period was the period when early man used tools made out of stones. We are talking about a period of millions and millions of years ago, before the world became what it is today. We are talking about a period when man was still changing from one situation to another situation, what we call evolution. The story of the early man begins in the Stone Age period, and we are going to be looking at the different stages in which man kept on changing until he became the kind of man whom we have today. Okay? So, whenever we find this word Stone Age period, we should say it is the period when man used tools made out of stones. Each and every tool, most of the tools of the early man, he was making them out of stone. This was mainly because during that time, man had not yet developed the brain to start making the modern tools which we have today. So during that time, he would just pick up any stones around and then he would make stones out of them. Rather, he would make tools out of them. The Stone Age period is divided into 3 stages. We have got 3 stages of the Stone Age period. We have the first one, which we call the early, or you can call it Old Stone Age period. This is the very first stage of the Stone Age period. That's why they are calling it Old or Early Stone Age period. Then we have got the Middle Stone Age period. This was the second stage of the Stone Age period. And then we have the Late, or you can call it New Stone Age period. These 3 stages, children, kept on changing. Every time early man would develop, the Stone Age period would change to another Stone Age what? Period. Are you with me? Yes. So, let us first of all focus on the early Stone Age period. The historians and the archaeologists, those people who study about the remains of the early man, they say that during this Old Stone Age period, early man was very short, with a hairy body and very strong jaws. In fact, if I was to try out and I walk the way the early man walked, very short, very strong, and then a hairy body, and then very strong jaws. They used to call him the nutcracker. And the reason why he was called a nutcracker was because he had very, very strong jaws. You know these nuts which you normally get from palm trees? Yes. Normally when you want to eat them, you have to crush them with a stone. But with the early man, he would throw like 5 of them in the mouth and then start chewing away. He was a very, very short man, a big head, and a very small brain. That is why in that period, early man was staying outside. Early man had no clothes. Early man was eating raw meat because the brain was still very small. He could not think and start making things which would help him in his life. But still, that is the stage from which the early man starts his life. So in this period, he was living outside and he had no permanent home. He would move from one place to another. He would move picking leaves of trees, picking fruits, uprooting roots and eating them as food. And then most of the times, he would just trap animals and then eat the meat raw. I believe if I was to tell some of you to start eating meat when it's not cooked, most of you would not touch it. Well, the early man used to enjoy that meat so much. So this period went on for many years until man started developing. The brain started becoming bigger and bigger. The body which was bent started becoming upright. And what is going to change us and take us to the next Stone Age period was when early man discovered fire. It is not well known how early man was able to discover this fire. Some people say he might have been making stone tools and then all of a sudden the stone is sparked and the grass nearby caught fire. Okay? Other people say he was rubbing 2 sticks and as he rubbed them so much, the friction was too much and then fire all of a sudden what? Started. But what we know is that early man discovered fire. And the moment he discovered fire, we move away from the early Stone Age period and move into the middle Stone Age period. Meaning that it is fire which made early man change his life from the early way of doing things into a new life, which we came to call the middle Stone Age period. Are we together? Now, during the middle Stone Age period, the moment early man discovered fire, it became one of the greatest discoveries ever to be made by man. Because the moment he had fire, now he was able to do different things. Early man used to fear living in caves because they were so dark and cold. But the moment he discovered fire, he now started living in the what? In the caves. The caves which were dark now had light from the fire. The caves which were cold were now warm because the fire was giving him warmth. He kept on living in the caves with his fire, slowly by slowly. Then one time, early man was chewing his raw meat and then accidentally the piece fell into the fire. It was the only meat he had and he was like, now what am I going to do? My only piece of meat has fallen into the what? The fire. He was like, I'm not going to leave this piece of meat to go like that. He got a piece of stick and pulled it out of the fire. And then he got the piece of meat and started chewing away. The thing was hot. How many of you have eaten hot food? How do you feel when it's hot? The piece was hot. But one thing he discovered that it was tasting better than the raw meat. He was like, oh, so if I can get my meat and I put it on this fire here, it will be tasting better than it has been tasting. So now, he was going to start roasting his meat. Another use of fire had come up. He started roasting the meat now. Are you together? Then, he never stopped there. He was using this fire also to scare away the wild animals which would come to attack him. He would just light a stick with the fire and then push it in the face of the animals. And then the animals would run away. Fire was now a savior to the early man. In fact, they say that it is the discovery of fire which was the greatest discovery of all the discoveries which the early man made, because it changed his life greatly. Are we together? Yes. So the Middle Stone Age period, we are seeing a man who has discovered fire, and his life is now changing, okay? From the Middle Stone Age period, children, we move to the late or New Stone Age period. What is going to make us change from Middle Stone Age period and then we enter another Stone Age period called the late was when Aleman started farming. It is farming which is going to change the life of Aleman and then take him into another stage. And the archaeologists are not sure, and the historians, they're not sure how indeed this man was able to start farming. Some people say maybe he was eating a seed of a mango one time and then he threw it near the cave. Then after throwing it there, after some few months, he saw a plant growing from where he'd put the seed. Then that plant, when it grew and became a tree, it produced the fruits. And then he was like, oh, so if I can get more of those fruits I get from the bush, after eating, I throw the seeds in the soil, these seeds can easily grow up, and instead of moving all the time looking for food everywhere, now I'll be having the food nearby. All together. So the moment he started growing crops near his caves, he had no reason to keep moving again. Because at first he had been moving from one place to another in order to get food for what? For eating. All together. But now he had the food. He was growing it near the caves where he was staying, so he no longer had reason to move. So the mere fact that he stopped moving, it is that fact of stopping to move which brings in a new Stone Age period, which we call the late or New Stone Age period. So what changes us from Middle Stone Age period to New Stone Age period was the discovery of farming. When Aleman discovered farming, a new life had started for him. He started growing crops. And it was during this time that this Aleman was able to tame his very first animal. And that animal was called a dog. The dog was the first animal to be tamed by the Aleman. Still, we are not sure how he was able to tame the dog. Maybe the dog had come to attack him as a wild animal, and then he threw a piece of meat at the dog to chase it away. Instead of the dog running away, it just grabbed the piece of meat and then ate it. And then there, somehow they became friends with the Aleman. And when the Aleman tamed the dog, this dog became a very, very important friend of the Aleman. Because, first of all, it was now protecting him. Other wild animals which would come near the cave or to attack the Aleman, this dog would chase them away. And I know most of you have got dogs at your homes. And you know what dogs can do. But the other dog of the Aleman was not trained the way your dogs are trained. Because these days you have very well trained dogs, which can even dance and do so many other things. But somehow Aleman was able to tame his own dog, and he used that dog to protect him. And on top of protecting him, even whenever Aleman was going to hunt, because the main work of Aleman was hunting, okay? Whenever he was going to hunt, he would take the dog with him. And any animal which was running very fast, and the Aleman could not get it, the dog would run after it, grab the animal, then our Aleman would come and then kill the animal, and they get meat for eating. So the dog was the first animal to be tamed by the Aleman, and this dog was used for protection as well as for hunting with the Aleman. And after getting the dog, Aleman was able to get very many other animals, like you see the domestic animals we have today. The cows, the goats, the sheep, the hens, all together. And each of these animals was useful to the Aleman because he would get meat from them. He would get skins for making clothes, because by the time we reach the New Stone Age period, Aleman is now starting to dress up. Unlike the other one of the Old Stone Age period, who was very naked. Okay? So these animals were not only there for eating, but you would get so many other things from them, like skins, from which you would make some kind of clothes to put on. Are we together? So as time went on, children, the Stone Age period, in the New Stone Age period, we see Aleman becoming like the modern man we have today, becoming more clever. The head became smaller, the brain became bigger. He could now reason, he could now think. People were now staying in communities instead of moving from place to place. Are you together? And they said that it was during the New Stone Age period that we even started burying people. Otherwise, in these Stone Age periods, there was no burying. You die, they leave you there. Then wild animals come and enjoy you. But in the New Stone Age period, early man now even started burying his dead people. When anybody would die, they would dig a grave and put the person there. So life had become so changed. It was almost as beautiful as the life we have today. But early man was still using stone what? Tools. And we are going to see now the Stone Age period ending. How did the Stone Age period end? The Stone Age period ended when early man discovered iron. Like other discoveries, children, we are not sure how this man was able to make iron. But some people think that maybe one time he had got some stones to make his tools, and then he threw the stone in the fire. When he threw the stone in the fire, the stone was heated to a very high temperature, and by morning time it had turned into a piece of metal, a piece of iron. And when he pulled it out and he tested it, he saw that it was stronger than the stones, it was sharper than the stones, and maybe it would even be more long what? Lasting. Are you with me? Yes. What we know is that early man discovered iron, and when he discovered iron, we came to the end of the Stone Age period. A new period had now started, which sometimes we call the Iron Age period. Why are we calling it Iron Age? Early man was no longer using stones. He was now going to be using iron in order to make his tools. Are we together? And the reason why early man decided to leave the stones and then he started using the iron was mainly because, first of all, stone tools, rather iron tools, were sharper than stone tools. Secondly, iron tools were stronger than stone tools. And then thirdly, iron tools were more long-lasting than the stone tools. So because of those three reasons, he threw away the stones, bye-bye. He put them aside, and now he started using tools made of what? Iron. So that is how early man kept on changing from one Stone Age period to another Stone Age period until the current man we have today. Today, we still use iron to make very many things. Although these days we have very many other materials like plastics and so on. But still iron is still being what? Used. So we can even say we are still in the Iron Age period, although we have other materials also. Okay? Okay? Now, let us look at some of the tools which the early man had. The early man had tools like the cleaver. A cleaver was a stone which was shaped in form of a knife, okay? And this cleaver, early man would use it to skin animals and even cut pieces of sticks, okay? Early man also had a hand axe. Early man also had a spear. Of course, it was a piece of stick with a stone, a very sharp stone at the end, okay? Which he would use when he's hunting and also to protect him what? Himself. Early man had a wooden club. A wooden club was a very big stick. One side is small, the other is big. He hits you that one on the head. You start seeing angels in heaven singing hallelujah. All together. That was the wooden what? Club. What else are we leaving out? And then he had another very important tool, which was called a bolus. It can be a tool, it can be a weapon. This bolus here was a string with the stones which he would use to trap fast-running animals. If he was hunting a fast-running animal and the animal is taking off very fast, he would get his bolus and then throw it. Then these stones would entangle around the legs of the animal, making it fall down until it would come and then do what? Pierce it. Good thing we were able to make some few boluses here. Huh? We have some few boluses. Come here, come here, come here. Hold it there. Stand here. Hold the bolus. Here also you come. We have our own locally made bolus. So the bolus of the early man must have looked like this. And let us imagine that there is an animal moving there. Are you ready to throw? And then you get the animal. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Then it would entangle the animal. Then when the animal falls down, animal would come and pierce it and kill it, and that food will be there for that day. Are we together, children? Are we together? Next, children, let us look at some of the reasons why our early man settled near lakes and rivers. When early man started living a settled life, he made sure that whenever he was going to form a home, he would put that home near a lake or a river. Are you with me? Yes. He made sure that his home was always near a lake or a what? A river. And historians were asking themselves why. Because they were discovering a lot of remains of the early man near lakes and rivers, until they discovered that the number one reason why most of the early men were living near lakes and rivers, one was to trap animals which were coming to drink water. So early man had become clever. He was like, instead of me going to the bush, chasing after animals and getting tired from there, let me put my home near the lakes and the rivers. Then when they come and they want to drink water, I'll just trap them from there and then kill them and eat. The other reason why early man lived near lakes and rivers was to get water for domestic use, water for cooking, water for each and everything which water is used for. Okay? And then the other reason why early man settled near lakes and rivers was to carry out fishing. He discovered that those animals in the water were very good to eat. So he was like, in case I don't get an animal in the bush, at least I'll be able to get some fish from the lakes and the what? And the rivers. All together. And then later on, when early man had started growing crops, he also discovered that near lakes and rivers, there was fertile soil, which was good for growing what? Crops. So most of the Stone Age sites, as we shall be seeing them in Uganda, they are found near lakes and rivers. They are found near lakes and what? Rivers. Are you with me? Yes. Then, another thing I want us to also know, children, is the ways in which this friend of ours, the early man, was getting his food. How was he getting food? From the story I've been telling you, how was the early man getting food? By hunting. He was getting food by hunting, yes. Apart from hunting, he was getting food by farming, growing crops, yes. He was gathering fruits and roots, yes. By farming, already mentioned. By fishing in the lakes and the rivers. Okay. So those are the ways in which the early man was getting food. White Angel Schools is one of the most modern schools as of now in Uganda, whereby our aim is to produce an wholesomely well-groomed child who is ready to engage in the... Our aim is to groom a wholesome child who can be able to keep up with the new trends in the world and also get to solve the challenges which affect the people in Uganda today. We teach our children academics. On top of the academics, we also carry out practical lessons like integrated production skills. And on top of that, of course, we've got the most professional teachers in and around the world. We've got a boarding section where we've got very, very well-trained and parental love-filled matrons and wardens who can look after children very well and cater for them almost giving them the feeling of being at home. So white AUs should be the only place where your child should be. Right, now we are going to look at what we call a Stone Age site. A Stone Age site is a place where the early man used to stay. Okay? Yes. The home of the early man is what we call a Stone Age site. There are very many Stone Age sites in Uganda, very, very many, which have been discovered by archaeologists. Even outside of Uganda, in Kenya, in Tanzania, and other parts of Africa, there are very many other Stone Age sites. Now, these Stone Age sites long ago were homes for the early man, but today they are used as tourist attractions, okay? Today we use them as tourist attractions. On top of being tourist attractions, they are also for study purposes. On top of being for study purposes, people who work there are also getting jobs. Are you with me, children? Yes. So we are going to look at the different Stone Age sites in Uganda. But before you look at them, what you need to know is that for any place to be named as a Stone Age site, there should have been a remain of the early man which was found there. And each of these places we are going to look at, indeed, scientists were able to discover remains of the early man. And the fact that they have found a remain of the early man there makes it to become a Stone Age site. All right? And one of the greatest archaeologists in East Africa here, one of the greatest, this man is called the greatest archaeologist because the skull which he was able to discover was the oldest skull of all skulls which have ever been discovered. Of all remains of the early man which have ever been discovered, the oldest one was discovered by a man by the names of Dr. Louis Leakey. And his wife, she was also a doctor, Dr. Mary Leakey. These two people, husband and wife, Dr. Louis Leakey and Dr. Mary Leakey, discovered the oldest skull of the early man. And this was found in Tanzania at a place called Olduvai Gorge. Olduvai Gorge. That old skull of the early man, when Louis Leakey discovered it, he named it Zinjanthropus. Everybody, can you say Zinjanthropus? Zinjanthropus. 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 Yes, that's what Dr. Louis Leakey named it. Zinjanthropus means Zinjanthropus means black. Zinjanthropus means black. Yes, since he had discovered it in Africa, in the land of the black people, he named it Zinjanthropus, which means black man. That skull is the oldest skull ever to be discovered. So many others have been discovered, but this one here is the oldest. And because it was discovered here in Africa, the white people started calling Africa the cradle of man. Everybody say cradle of man. Cradle of man. Yes. If they have to ask you that, why is Africa called the cradle of man? It's because the earliest man lived in Africa. Or the oldest skull of the early man was discovered in Africa. And that oldest skull was the Zinjanthropus by Dr. Louis Leakey and the wife, Dr. Mary Leakey. Are you with me? So in each of the Stone Age sites we are going to see, there must have been some scientists who went there and they found there remains or fossils of the early man. Let us go on our map here. The very first Stone Age site, number one here, is what we call Para Stone Age site. Para Stone Age site. Yes, Para Stone Age site is found in northern Uganda, near the Albert Nile and the Victoria Nile. Here, a remain of the early man was discovered. The second one is called Magosi. Everyone say Magosi. Magosi. Magosi Stone Age site. Magosi Stone Age site. That is another Stone Age site in Uganda. Then number 3, we have what we call Nyero rock painting. Nyero rock painting. Yes, this one here, Nyero, is found in Kumi district. It is called a rock painting because when the scientists reached there, they entered the cave and they found when early man had painted very many paintings on the walls of the cave. Do you understand? So they named it Nyero Rock painting because of those paintings of the early man. Are you with me? So this one showed them that this early man had become very clever when he was living in the caves, that he could even paint on the walls. Some paintings are pictures of the different work which early man was doing. Some paintings are just simple patterns and designs of the early man. So it is called Nyero Rock painting. It is found in Kumi district and it is a Stone Age site where early man used to stay. We have number 4 here. Number 4 is right here in Kampala. It is right here in Kampala and it is found at Luzira. Okay? It is called Luzira Stone Age site. At Luzira Stone Age site, these scientists were digging and digging slowly by slowly and they discovered there a very funny head. It is called the Luzira head. Okay? Unfortunately, the British, when they discovered it, they took it to Britain. It's found in the British museums. We don't have it in our museum here in Uganda. They took it. That's why those whites are not good sometimes. Eh? They steal our things. All together. But a head was discovered in this place. It was a sculpture, like it was molded by the early man. And when they tested it, they discovered that it was millions and millions of years ago. Okay? So this place is also a Stone Age site. It is Luzira. Then number 5 is what we call Bigo Byamgenyi. When we were in P3, we learned about the Bachwezi. Huh? Yes. This Bachwezi, the place where they used to stay, and their main capital was this Bigo Byamgenyi here. It is found in Sembabule district after Masaka. All together. Yes. And when the scientists went to this place, they dug and they found there a lot of things which were used by the Bachwezi. And when they tried to experiment on them, they discovered that there were millions and millions of years together. So they also turned it into a Stone Age site. Bigo Byamgenyi. It was the capital of the Bachwezi, but it is also a Stone Age site. Number 6 is what we call Sangobe. Everyone says Sangobe. 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 Sangobe Stone Age site is near Lake Victoria, almost as you're reaching the border of Tanzania and Uganda. Also at this place, remains of the early man were discovered and they turned it into a Stone Age site. Number 7 is called Nsongezi. 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 Nsongezi is another Stone Age site. As you're moving, going to Mbarara, that's where Nsongezi is found. It is a Stone Age site and the remains of the early man were discovered there. And then number 8, we have what we call Mweya Stone Age site. Everybody. Mweya Stone Age site. Mweya Stone Age site is in western Uganda, in Kasese. In fact, where it is found, it is near what we call the Queen Elizabeth National Game Park. And when these scientists reached there, they found their remains of the early man, bones, skulls, pots. And when they experimented on them, they discovered that they were very, very old. So they named this place as a Stone Age site. These are the Stone Age sites which we have in Uganda. But when you go out of Uganda to Kenya, you go to Tanzania, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and other parts of the world, there are very many Stone Age sites, the homes of the early man. Today, we use them for tourist attraction. We also use them for study purposes like we're doing now. And on top of that, they create jobs for the people who live nearby. That is all for today about the Stone Age period. When we meet again in the next lesson, we shall be talking about the ethnic groups in Uganda. We shall be looking at the different tribal groups, where they came from, where they passed until they came and settled in Uganda. That will be our next topic. Otherwise, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the lesson about the Stone Age period in Uganda. In our next lesson, we shall be looking at the ethnic groups of Uganda and how they kept on migrating from different parts of Africa into where they are settled today. Otherwise, as I'm signing out, I'm going to leave you with a number of questions which you can try to practice out whatever we've learned today. Question 1. Why was the Stone Age period called so? Why was the Stone Age period called so? Question 2. What discovery made the early man live a settled life? What discovery made the early man live a settled life? Question number 3, and it's the last one. What discovery led to the end of the Stone Age period? Thank you so much for viewing with us. See you next time.